covering power of generative AI in API testing. Little bit about myself. I am an executive director of platform engineering at Quest Diagnostic. I am leading DevSecOps, SREs, quality engineering, release management with the API first mindset. I have over 24 years of experience in software engineering with in multiple industry. I have financials and then the government sector and in healthcare. By heart, I am API evangelist, very passionate about APIs, microservices, how they are transforming the integrated customer experience. I love to travel. Whenever time permits, go for biking, and you can connect me on LinkedIn. With that, today I will be covering three areas. One is setting the stage. I will talk about the generative AI introductions, different type of the AIs, and how we adopt the Gen AI. What are the dimensions in terms of the Gen AI project dimensions? I will cover that part. Then I will switch on the API product strategy. We'll go over high-level API lifecycle, and then we'll double-click on the API testing, how we are leveraging generative AI, and then how we are actually implementing it. Then finally, summary benefits, what we have seen, early benefits, we'll share the benefits, and then key takeaways. Okay, so with that, one thing which I want to highlight that this is a unique proposition that matches the essential criteria to enable integrated customer experience and to bring the operational efficiency in an era of artificial intelligence. And this is why, remember, November 30th, 2022, that OpenAI released ChatGPT to the public. This is a general purpose chatbot ran on fine-tuned versions of ChatGPT 3.5, and it was available at no cost. It was available to the public. 1 million users after a few days signed up. 100 million users in 2 months after the launch. This is the fastest internet service ever. This is not a buzzword anymore. So I will cover how Gen AI sits into the big Venn diagram of artificial intelligence. So the artificial intelligence that uses the computer science and data to enable problem solving in machines. That's what the AI. Within that, machine learning, it is the technique, algorithms that enable systems to learn from data, recognize patterns, and make predictions or decisions. Then we go to the deep learning. In the deep learning, it's an ML technique that layers the algorithms into artificial neural networks that mimic the human brain. And then is the middle of that, in the last section, is the NLP, natural language processing, that enable machines to comprehend, generate, and manipulate human languages as it is written. And then it comes to the generative AI, which is sitting on the large language model that it's producing the new content. So as you understand the big picture of the AI ML Venn diagram, then I will touch base the different type of the artificial intelligence that you hear a lot. Traditional AI, generative AI, and causal AI. Traditional AI, it's mainly focused on processing and analyzing historical data. It's trained on follow the specific rules and do a particular job, do it very well. As an example, chess, right? It has a certain rules and it's recognize the patterns, and based on the patterns, you know how it does very well. So it is good on pattern recognition. Then the generative AI, which is part of this as the extension of NLP, this is based on the neural network. So this actually generating the new ideas based on the learned patterns. It creates content, synthetic data, as an example, picture, music, sounds, art. It's generating the new data, and it is very good in summarizing the large unstructured data and generate the narratives. So that's why it's excel in the pattern creations. The third one, causal AI, which is widely not used, is very in early stage. It's predict why the things are why this outcome occurred. So it is focusing on cause and effect relationship. As an example, in healthcare, in the clinical trial, when the patients, the data comes, whatever the outcomes comes, it's bring the new intervention and then treatments. And I would highly recommend that you should read the book, which is here. I have noted down, so there's one book is Book of Why, which is Dr. Pearl and Judith McKenzie. And I would highly recommend that you should read this book. They talk about the causal AI a lot. Okay, so the next one is what are the AI project dimensions? How we identify these are the projects that we should go for. What are the dimensions that we selected? These are the three major areas. One is the business strategy. Second is the culture, people, leadership, partners. And then the third important dimension is the ethics and compliance policies. Remember that not every problem has to be solved with AI. So AI strategy, your data strategy, your technology strategy, and your business strategy all should be combined. And that's what is the one of the dimensions. And then the second, part of it, then operational stability, how you are going to bring the stability in the business, how you're bringing the operational efficiencies, and everything should be around the customer-centric mindset. The second dimension is the people. So we should start small, grow organically in the workforce. We should build the trust and collaborative culture. Leadership, employees, partners, they should be built the community of the practice. And then the third area, which is the ethics and compliance policies, we all have a big responsibility because we are bringing the real impact on the people. So product that building using generative AI should have the strong AI ethics. So based on these three dimensions, there are the 4 steps that we followed in the generative AI adoptions. The first one is the AI governance, because it's helped the business to make the better decision. It's bringing the clarity around the legal and compliance policies. It's improved the customer feedback loop. Customer feedback, it's customer, internal customers, our business partners, and then outside it's bringing that. So employees, it's bringing back to the feedback loop to the governance committee. The second step was people and then process. It's important that you upskill the workforce, prepare the workforce for the future. So started the certain AI trainings aligned to legal and compliance requirement. And then everyone, people and the leadership, they start taking the training. And then have the good information architecture and management processes. Very, very important in terms of the adoption of generative AI, because it's helped to build the trusted and collaborative culture and then review the hiring process. The third area was identify the use cases, which is the really difficult task because tons of the ideas came up, but how to identify what is the right use case in the beginning, early stage of this adoption. See, identify where is the repeatable task, where we can see the major operational saving. Because think from the business point of view, they are trying to save the dollars and then looking the better ROI. So what are the repeatable tasks? How do we bring the operational saving? How do we bring the engineering productivity? And then what are the customer pain points where generative AI can bring more value? As an example, chatbots into the National Customer Service group. The other area was that start with the small ones, doesn't have to be very complicated in the beginning, in the early stage, and ensure that the ones that we are going to pick are expected to be successful. The fourth area was identify where we should go. Should we build our own LLM model, or should we take the existing one? So building your own language, large language model sounds promising, but remember, very expensive, very time consuming. So we try multiple vendors, models, right? And then in the beginning as an MVP, start using OpenAI, the ChatGPT model. Okay, so now you understand then what are the areas that the steps that we follow in the adoptions, what are the dimensions that we consider and identify to pick the right generative AI project. Now switch the gear on API product strategy, that what we have as of now. So in the API product strategies, they are the multiple factors influence. The high level one, I'm going to touch base on the customers, competitors, socials, environments, and so these are the multiple factors define the API product strategy. So when I say customer thinks what service I will be getting, how you are going to solve my problem. Social and environmental, how people experience is changing. Pandemic is a great example. After pandemic, people and their experience is changing in the healthcare industry. What are the major environmental changes in the demographic area? Third area is the competitors. How to increase our market share? What is our differentiator? What is our unique product brand? So in the API strategy, this is why it's important. Then we start with customer pain points. Customer is the center of everything. In one of my previous talk, I talk about the API governance, and that's where I was, highlighted why customer should be center of everything when you're defining your API product strategy. Understand the social and environmental challenges, something that business allow others to solve customer problem, and then build the outside in thinking. So with these areas, then defining the product strategy, I would go over very high level the API lifecycle. So start with the first one. Remember the API product strategy which I was talking about. This is the API product opportunity prioritization model, collecting the opportunities, working with the business units, road mapping it, doing the assessment, prioritizing, taking the leadership approval, evaluations and qualifications. This is the model that prioritizing what is the right API product, what is the real problem we are trying to solve. And then designing, it is the API first design approach, designing those APIs, understanding the discoveries, and then understand, are we going to create or develop the new API, something is already existing one. So API discovery, this is the talk this is the topic I shared in my last year talk. You can see why API discovery matters in healthcare. So once understand this API design, understand the dependencies, then go into the development area, then should we create or update or leverage the existing API. Since I am in a healthcare industry, it's important to review the PAI, PHI, understand and work with the security and privacy legal team to review that API design with them. That there is no PAI, PHI information. If it is, then how are we going to design it differently? And then you build the API. Today, I will be focusing on the API testing. So you can see the red box, which I will double click into the next slide. And that's where the API testing comes into the picture. Because we see, coming back to this, identify the use cases, we see benefit into the building the APIs, which is my API product team partners are doing. And while my team was focusing on and building the generative AI in the API testing space. And then we release the APIs. Then when we release the API after proper, the testing, penetration testing, security review, and then understand the capacity requirement, and then it comes to the release, consumptions, and retire area. So designing the API product, coordinating with the consumers, backend systems, API development, and goes to the go live. And that's where app developer, they can develop these APIs on the mobile or the web applications or IoT devices or scanners, cars, etc. Because our goal is what problem we are trying to solve for our customers. So this is the big high-level overview of API lifecycle. Now let's do a double click on API testing. In the API testings, as you can see that we have the API product specifications, whether it's a feature, stories, and acceptance criteria. And one of the things which I was talking about, the identify the large language model, we work with the multiple vendors and partners, and then finally, as a start with small, let's get started. So we're using GitHub Copilot, a QA personas, which is actually helping us in identifying the test cases. Test cases are written in Gherkin format. Then preparing the test environments, whether the endpoints backend available or not, creating the service virtualizations, building the mock services. The synthetic data, it's actually helping to generate the synthetic data based on the API specifications, and then executing the test cases. So when we are actually executing the test cases, it's then the defect triage process comes into the picture. It's one thing which I would like to highlight is the documentations. This is the area where quality engineers were taking a lot of time, or sometimes they were not doing a good job on the documentation side. Generative AI, as you know, it's create the content. It's actually helping us the rich documentations on the test steps. It's all fully part of the GitHub CI/CD pipeline, which is integrated with the Jira, and then X-ray for the test case management. And then we are, it's monitoring and writing the test cases, iterating where see that the test coverage is not proper, and then giving the recommendations for the improvement. So this is the high level picture on the API testing step-by-step approach. Okay, so with that, the last section, summary. So it is actually bringing the operational efficiency. It's in fact, we can see, we create the baseline data, what is the testing life cycle in terms of the executions, creating the documentations, creating the test data. It's actually helped to build the engineer's productivity by 30%. As the result is actually helping to reduce our cycle time and then improve the API documentations. And then finally, the key takeaways. I would suggest that you build the AI governance, educate the teams, including the leadership on AI security, ethics, compliance. Start, doing it. Enable these generative AI principles in your API governance model. So it's going to help you to identify the use cases where you can see the quick wins immediately. This is why my next key takeaway is identify use cases, start with the small. Use three-dimensional model. Avoid shadow IT experiment within the organization. So don't wait, just get started, fail fast, but learn, adopt, and adjust. With that, thank you. If you have any question, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Bye.